Hey everybody, in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a level transfer system in Unreal Engine. This system will allow you to pick the location on a level that you want to travel to based on the prior level. So with that being said, let's jump in. Okay, before we dive into the tutorial, I want to explain my reasoning for making this system. So here we have an image of a map. So in this map, you can see that there's two different locations I can travel to. I can travel to the cave or I can travel to the village. Now in most games, if I entered that cave, explored it, and then exited the cave, my player would be at the cave entrance on this world map. Same goes for the village. I go, I explore the village, I talk to some NPCs, I leave the village, I'm back at the village entrance on the world map. Now, if you're coming from another game engine, you're probably thinking like, yeah, that's super easy. Why do we need a tutorial on how to do this? Well, because in Unreal Engine, it's not so simple. So the way that Unreal Engine allows you to do this is through their process they call level streaming. And what that means is basically every level is present in this world map. So the entire cave map, the inside of the cave, the enemies, the collectibles, all of that is going to be present in the world map. It's just not going to be loaded in. So if I go to the cave entrance, then all of those assets, enemies, collectibles, the entire level then would load in. Then when I exit the cave, it unloads. Now, I don't like this for a couple of reasons. I don't really enjoy the workflow of doing level streaming. I've done it before. I actually did it on my game Henry's Day. And to me, it just kind of gets confusing and causes some clutter. I mean, people may really like level streaming and that may be the AAA standard, but for me personally, I don't enjoy working with the level streaming system. I also don't like the lag that it causes. Now, you could throw like a loading screen in between the lag, but I don't know if that would completely avoid it or not. I would rather build my levels in smaller chunks and then just have like, a portal there in the cave on the world map that says when my player enters this portal, he's going to be at the cave entrance. And then when he's inside the cave level, when he exits that portal, he's going to be back at the cave entrance on that world map. So that's what we're going to make today. I hope that explanation makes sense. So let's go ahead and dive into the tutorial. So you'll notice that in Unreal Engine, you have a player start component. The problem with using the player start component is that if you use multiple player start components in the same map, it just randomly selects one for your player to spawn at. So we're gonna override the logic in that player start component to be designated to wherever we want it to go to based on the previous level and where we're exiting from. So we're gonna start by building a game instance. The reason why we need to make a game instance is because the variables and the data that we place into this are gonna be carried over from level to level. So make a game instance and then we're just adding one variable. It's of the type name, and let's just call it teleportation tag. Once we have our game instance, we need to go into the project settings, search for instance, and then change the current game instance to the one that you just made. You don't have to hit save, you can just close out of that window, it'll automatically save it. Okay, now we're gonna make an actor blueprint that's gonna represent our portal that once we collide with it, will travel from level to level. So I'm just gonna add a collision sphere and I'm gonna uncheck hidden so we can see it in the game. But you can add whatever you want as far as like static meshes. You can make this a door, you can make it like I said, a portal or an opening, or it can just be invisible and then you can add it on top of like a cave entrance or the entrance to a forest. Once we have our collision sphere, we're gonna go into the event graph and we're gonna add the onComponentBegin overlap event. In order to avoid casting too often, let's drag out from the other actor pin, search for equals, and then plug in getPlayerPawn into that equals pin. Then we'll add a branch, and if it's true, then we'll begin our logic. So this is similar to casting to the third-person blueprint, except we don't have to have the hard reference of casting, so it's less expensive, and we're able to grab whatever is the designated player pawn at the time of overlap. Okay, so once it's true, we're gonna cast to our game instance that we made, and we need to get game instance and have that plugged into the object node. drag out from our cast and set our teleportation tag. That's the only variable that's inside our game instance, and plug the as GI main into the target. Now we're gonna add two variables to our level portal blueprint. They're both gonna be of the type name. The first one I'm gonna call teletag, just to avoid any confusion with the name teleportation tag. The second one I'm gonna call level name. So let's plug in the teletag into the teleportation tag. Then let's drag out from our set and open level by name. And then we're gonna plug the level name into the level name. Now, you'll notice I clicked the eyeballs on teletag and level name. That makes them editable inside the level. So you definitely wanna click that. That way we can designate the names of the level and the tag. Okay, now we need to edit the game mode. So click on that icon at the top, go down to the current game mode and edit that game mode. You're gonna wanna open the full blueprint editor, and then we want to override the player start component. So look for choose player start and click on it. And this is where we're going to change the logic of how the player start works in Unreal Engine. Okay, so let's start off by casting to our game instance, and remember to get the game instance. Okay, so drag off of our cast, and we're going to get all actors of class and select the player start as the actor class. This will give us an array of all the player starts. Let's get the teleportation tag from our game instance, and then we're going to loop through our player starts and see if the tag matches up with our teleportation tag. If it matches, we're going to use that player start as the one that the player should be using currently. So drag off of get all actors of class, search for each loop, plug in our actors array into the array, drag out of the array element and search for player start tag. So the player start component already comes pre-compiled with a tag variable, and the name of that is player start tag. So plug that into the equals and then create a branch. Plug our condition in, plug the true from the branch to the return node. Now this part's important. We want to plug out of loop body and plug that into the branch. We don't want to plug out of completed because it won't work if we do that. And then let's plug out of the array element and plug that into the return value node. So here is the logic for overriding the player start component. So I've already made 3 levels. I've just basically duplicated the third person map and just changed a few things here and there just so I would know that I'm in a different level. So we want to start by dragging in our blueprint, and we're going to drag that in next to the player start that we want to access when we're coming into the level. On the blueprint, you'll want to change the tele tag and the level name. If you don't see those options, go back to your blueprint and make sure you've clicked the eyeball icon next to the variables. That's what makes them editable in the level. So for this tag, I'm gonna put cave, and then I'm gonna put the name of the cave map. So when I collide with this portal, it's gonna take me into the cave map, and it's going to access our game instance and change that variable to cave. So then when I'm on the cave map, I'm gonna search for the player start component with the tag cave. So let me go ahead and make another one over here. I'm gonna call this village, and I'm going to plug in the village map as the level name. And then I'm also going to change the player start tag to village. For our player start to just spawn the player in to the level, you want to leave that tag as none, and you want to leave the teleportation tag in the game instance as none, defaulting as none. That way we can actually spawn into the map. If we don't do this, we're going to spawn at a random location in the map. Might be out of bounds. Let's test it. We should be spawning in at that start point every single time. It looks like it's working. So I'm going to go to the cave map. I'm going to place the player start down where I want to enter the cave. I'm going to change the player start tag to cave, and then I'm going to put a portal down and change that tag, that tele tag, to cave. And then I'm gonna change the level name to the third person map. So it's important that these tags match, because this is going to tell you to go which level to go to, and it's gonna match the tags together. Go to this level at tag cave. And it's also important that I don't duplicate the tag name on the same level. So I'm putting the portal over here to go to the village from the cave. I don't want to call this cave as well, or else it won't work. So I'm going to call it village cave. And then when I'm on the village level, that entrance is going to be called village cave as well. So I'll duplicate the player start. Same thing, change the player start tag to village cave, so it knows where I need to spawn in when I'm exiting the village map based on the name of the tag in the game instance. Now here's where it's important to put an additional player start down if you ever want to just spawn in the cave. Maybe you have a save point in the cave and you want to just spawn in the cave. So put a player start down and use the tag none, because if you don't, you could end up out of bounds. So now I'm going to quickly do the same thing for the village map. Just place down the portal. Again, this is the component that triggers the level transfer and changes the name of the teleportation tag in the game instance. And then I want to match the tag of that portal to the player start component, so that when I come into the level from the corresponding tag, I'll spawn in at the appropriate area. Okay, let's go ahead and test this out. I'm gonna save, I'm gonna go back to the third person map. Okay, I start at the appropriate section, or I start at the appropriate point. I'm gonna go into the cave. I'm at the cave, inside at the cave entrance. I'm gonna exit, and boom, I'm right there at the entrance of the cave. Now let's go to the village from the cave. And boom, I'm at the cave entrance in the village. And I can go back into the cave. I'm at the opposite end of that cave. Go back into the village. And then let's go back to the original map from the village. And boom, we're at the entrance of the village. Go back into the village. I don't know what's happening with that cube. But yeah, it's as simple as that, guys. Like I said, this is something that I've struggled with for a really long time, so I'm happy that I figured it out. I hope this video wasn't too confusing. If it did help you out, please drop a like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. And if you like indie dev and Unreal Engine content, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for checking out my video, and I'll catch you later.